Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. So I've been wanting to make a video for about the past week to follow up to do part 3 in the Unraveling reality series that I'm starting to do. And I had this experience last weekend at a star fort, which I talked about a little bit on Thursday night's show. And several synchronicities kind of played into that experience that I had, which led me to go to that place at that particular time on the solstice, on Father's Day, on the very next day I think was Amazon Prime Day. And like this whole experience led to all of these synchronicities that were leading me in a different direction than I kind of wanted to go with the video I was wanting to make. So, I followed the synchronicities instead of doing what I had planned. It seems like every time lately when I make a plan to do something, this reality has different plans. And the more I start to follow these synchronicities, many of which are very significant to me, the more I have even more significant synchronicities. And the whole time, this week that this has been going on, there has been, and probably for several weeks now, this idea that I have been building in my mind, an idea to explain overall all of the things that I look into and that I look at to try to make sense of these things and to come up with an overall theory or general idea of what this place is, what reality, how it works. And something that's just been bugging me for a while is this idea that within this system, this duality system, that there is good and that there is evil, and that holds true in every reality. There's just good and there is evil, and that evil is bad and good is, well, good. But, that implies that there are these bad guys that are satanic, that want to kill everybody and enslave everybody, and they hate you and they want to eradicate you from the face of the earth. And I have some issues with that viewpoint. I've been that person that was in that frame of mind, viewing all of this information that was coming at me. And, it just fell apart after a while. And so following these synchronicities this week, I started to live stream my show on Thursday night on YouTube. And so that opened the video up to a person who then came in and left some comments that I responded to. And we started to get in this really interesting conversation. And so this all just sort of is culminating in this idea that's been forming in the background, in the back of my mind, about the nature of reality and what's really going on in this place. And I've talked about, seeing it as a game, and that's part of it, that really feeds into it. But I'm going to elaborate, I think, more so and try to make it coherent and unified. But I wanted to share, some of these synchronistic events that really lead me to lean in this direction and to really want to explore this idea that I'm having even more. Not to say that I've got it right or I've got anything figured out, right? I'm just trying to make sense of reality with the information that I have taken in thus far on my journey, and acknowledge that, it will likely morph and change over time, as, all things probably do. And the more you can allow yourself to move fluidly with those things, instead of staying rigidly stuck into one way of looking at the world, the easier time it is to navigate this reality. Is sometimes just weird things come along and they upend your worldview that has already morphed and changed who knows how many different times along someone's journey through this life. So I got a comment on my YouTube video, and this person was in the live stream, and then they left a comment later. And so I'm going to read it here. Hey, Eric, great show. For what it's worth, I'll dice out some of mystery on these topics, and they are all just ideas for conversation. First, Genghis Khan is a fabrication to cover up a nasty group of Tartarians. In no way, to me, does a group of thug Tartarians have anything to do with frequency architecture, free energy, healing, power spots, ley lines, or anything of that nature. Just thugs trying to get too much and were struck down for it. Maybe by us, maybe by, quote, them, maybe by God, maybe by Earth, which is just as alive as us. I prefer the Earth theory. I'm not sure why people think reality can be explained in words or theories when we all watch two towers turn into dust. So I go with Earth or nature as my theory on previous cataclysmic resets. Not sure who attached the word Tartarian to architecture, but it is false. And whoever did has led us down the wrong path. Attached, a video from 36 that I think shows us in plain sight what happened to the many, many civilizations previous to the ones we know of. In the case of the video, the sun takes out the Tower of Babel because the people running the show got too greedy. Things get too hectic on this plane and nature will end this show, which I'm all for, by the way. All locations of Earth seem to have been, at one point or another, some mystic area. Once you let go of all that you were taught and reestablish the skill of seeing like a child sees with pure imagination, you see rivers were designed in their destinations. Hills become tops of deep pyramids. Mountains become castles, giants, or trees. The Antiquities in America article from 1858 explains our country as more built out than Egypt. Definitely with you. That wars are used to destroy the old world. I believe all of them are, but I no longer put my energy towards the pyramid scheme, thinking that there's someone or some group, something above me controlling me. I have put myself in a vibration and physical, mental, spiritual place where their position or their poisons, their tricks, the deceptions can no longer affect me. Once you see the magician's trick, it no longer holds the same effect. As Howdy said on his latest video, I'm moving down our pyramid, not up theirs. As it seems you are as well. Please keep up the great work. Love your perspective. Find the beauty in what is left for us. And sorry to be so long-winded, which wasn't long-winded at all. I really enjoyed this comment. It gave me a lot of things to think about. And so when I read it, I wanted to take my time with it and formulate a response that was worthy of the time that this person put into writing this. And so during that time, I went and watched a video that had Howdy McCoskey in it with Michael Wan and Emily Moyer, the Real Trilateral Commission. And in that, Michael Wan read from a book. And so I put this in the response here. So I read your comment, and then I watched a video with Michael Wan, Emily, and Howdy. And Michael mentions this book called A Story Waiting to Pierce You, Mongolia, Tibet, and the Destiny of the Western World by Peter Kingsley. He reads from this book, and the author is talking about the same thing you are in your comment. And just, I'm paraphrasing what the book said in the way that I understood it, what it was really saying. This is not to say this is a direct quote from the book or that this is what Michael read. This is just kind of my take on what was being put out there and how it connected to this person's comment. Almost like I was searching for a way to respond, and then it just fell into my lap. So I thought it was synchronistic. The author takes a slightly different view based on his own research, though. According to this author, Genghis Khan and the Mongols were asked by the Dalai Lama of the time, which I don't think he was actually referred to as the Dalai Lama, but it was that same type of role. He wanted him to kill and erase all of the old shamans who continue to practice the old magic, And so they were used by these lamas to destroy the old world, erase it from history, and the lamas would rewrite the history. They also learned the shamanic magic and then used it against the shamans to gain power and control in this realm. It was very interesting stuff, and it made me think. So, I thought this was, really synchronistic. And then it just started to feed into the stuff that we were talking about, Thursday night. It really started to steer towards this Tartarian conversation. And then somebody posted in the Esoteric Journey Facebook group a video. It was like 5 hours long, and I've only watched maybe 2 hours of it. But it has a lot of very, very interesting information in it. A lot of this stuff I already knew, but it's still this Tartarian thing just keeps coming up over and over and over again. And I'm not really going out looking for it, right? It interests me, but it's not something that I'm going to put all of my main focus on. Right? It's just part of whatever game that I'm playing right now. And it seems to be coming up more and more. And so I keep following these synchronicities, and I keep having this idea about how this game works and, what's really going on here. And so as this is formulating in my mind, I'm talking to a friend of mine on Discord last night, and the idea just starts coming out in this really, really polished, formulated way. And then I receive a reply to my reply today, this afternoon. That's fantastic. It is strangely interesting to actually go deep in a subject by going deep inside yourself. It is seeming more true, I've been noticing. I mean, look at our narrative. Where does the line end for BS info? Most of the even deepest truthers I know can't drop this veil. Okay, don't trust Wiki or the news, but I should blindly believe a dude named Wooden Nichols? Or don't trust the military industrial complex, but the Admiral Byrd story is true? 9/11 was planned for at least 33 years previous to it happening, but the same group didn't see us truthers coming up out of nowhere, sharing info on a DARPA-created platform? Oh yes, the apparent awakening is happening. But it's starting to look like it's going to be a rude one for us who can see, which is why I'm taking a step back and wondering, why do they do this? Give us all this info, make us believe in nothing. What is the YouTube University PSYOP really about? Anyway, keep up the great work. So it's very interesting to me, right? So it brings this whole idea up of why, right? Which feeds into the overall question. I think most people who are on any kind of journey seeking truth ultimately end up, no matter what portal you came into this movement or awakening, or whatever word you want to use to call it, the journey that you're on, the truth that you're looking for, there's always that gateway that leads you into this, right? Just like in an ARG, as I talked about in a previous video, there's always this doorway into the game. And so the truther movement is that doorway. It really is. And I imagine it in my mind to be like a funnel, right? It's very wide at the top, and it narrows and narrows and narrows. And really what's happening is this is where the alchemical process is starting for a lot of people. They come into this through some rabbit hole that they're following. But it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's chemtrails or flat earth or any other topic. At some point, your worldview gets changed by the information that you're taking in. And now you have to make sense of this information. So you start to reconstruct a narrative of reality that suits where you're at that moment in time. How do I see this in the context of what I've been taught? If everything's a lie and I'm having to relearn everything, you go through a period of just taking in information. But all the while, you're trying to rebuild your worldview and how you see reality itself and how this all works. And one of those places that you can go, which is very popular within the truth community, is the Christianity angle, which is that, this is biblical prophecy unfolding, and it's God and it's Satan, and they're wrestling, all of that stuff. You can go down that road and you can stay in that road until the day you die, and you probably will be, you'll be just content staying in that role, in that worldview. But for me, you know, also getting pulled down that sidetrack, I just found that it didn't answer a lot of the nagging questions that were still in my mind. And so I just started to formulate this idea of, you know, what is going on here. And of course, like many people, I thought, you know, the CIA were the bad guys, and they're running all these projects and programs, and they're evil, and they're, at the very least, they're hijacking ancient knowledge that we once had and that was used for good, but now they want to use it to destroy everybody. And the more I think about it and the more I look at it, that's really just not the reality that I'm seeing anymore. Because if you look at, why would the CIA invest so much time to put disinformation agents on YouTube and fund them and promote their channels so that they go viral, and, you know, their only source of information on that particular truth or topic is through this shill, as people like to call them? Well, shills serve a very important function, right? They're typically, when you get into any kind of truth, or you're seeking truth, you're going to come to one of these gatekeepers, and their entire job is to keep you right there inside that gate. Do not go any further down this funnel, right? You got to stay right here where it's nice and cozy. You got plenty of room to move around. You don't need to look down even further. It gets too tight down there. You're not going to make it. You got to stay right here. Stay angry. Stay afraid. Everybody's out there. They're all sheep. They don't get it. Everyone's evil at the top, and they're trying to destroy us. Oh my God, I feel so helpless. What can I do? Most of the population's asleep at the wheel, and I'm pretty powerless. And these guys obviously have tech that I've never heard of, and they know all this evil magic stuff. And oh my God, what do? I just pray. I'm just going to pray, or I'm just going to throw my hands up and be like, I don't know. What do I do? And a lot of people get stuck at this place, or people just stay angry, right? They're frustrated that they don't know what to do about this. They feel like they have to solve the world's problems, that the problems are being caused by this group of elite Satanists who just want to drink baby's blood and kill everybody. But I mean, that sounds absurd as well. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so eventually people do get further down that funnel, and they begin to realize that, you know, a lot of this stuff really was beneficial to them, especially to be able to figure out who's a shill, who's lying, where's the truth in the information they have, right? The funnel, or the truth movement, is like an alchemical process. And what's really trying to be done is trying to extract this ability of discernment, the ability to see a truth right in front of you. And the more you harness this ability and the more you use it, the more you begin to see that the truth is in absolutely everything that we see. It's in the fabric of our reality. It's part of this place. It's part of the game environment we find ourselves in. You can look at it in movies. You can see it in television shows, books, magazines, art, even going all the way back, as far back as you can look, with the history that we've been given. Even the history books themselves tell you things without really telling you things. There's always a breadcrumb being left here and there in almost every place you could look. And once you begin to see those things for what they are, you start following them. Synchronicities, right? They're exposing things to you, these breadcrumbs that are leading you to some greater understanding of this reality and the nature of yourself and what you are. And going through that funnel, right? It's that narrow path. Very few will enter. And I'm not saying that I'm even close to that, but there seems to be so much sentiment that, you know, you have to stay away from this and you have to stay away from that, and that's evil, but that's good. And we have a tendency, when we start labeling things like that and putting negative and positive connotations on them, that either one source of information cannot be questioned while the other can't even be considered, right? And that's detrimental to your journey if what you're really looking for is to dive into an ocean of information and pull from it the treasure that lies somewhere down at the bottom. And you pull that treasure up and you move on to the next site. You're always looking for that nugget of truth, but you never want to get stuck inside the wreckage, because that's really what it is. And you're going to run out of air and you're going to drown. So I just wanted to kind of express that. I don't know. And it seems like this idea that, the people that are perpetrating this stuff are evil. What if they're not evil? What if they're not necessarily good either? What if they're both, just like all of us? We have the potential to be evil. We have the potential to be good, right? There's a light and a dark side. You got the left-hand path and the right-hand path. There's always two paths. And I think you have to walk both at one point in this journey to appreciate the other. And once both of those paths have been walked, you can integrate them, and then they are in balance. And you're on this middle path, the path out of this place, out of this game. And I think that there are people that are just like us, that at some point in time, be it recent or be it ancient, achieved this feat of leaving this place and being able to then also return with their full memory and full awareness of what and where they are. And they came back with a purpose. And that purpose was to guide humanity to achieve the same feat that they did. But understanding the rules of the game and how it's played, they now have the freedom to use creativity in designing even more complex games to see how many more people can we bring further along on their awakening to this reality. How many more people can we reach? And knowing that if people perish, having just to come back and repeat this all over again without any memory of ever being here before. And yet part of that experience, part of that fundamental change that occurs within each individual soul, each lifetime, remains somewhere in the unconscious, the background program that's running while you're in this incarnation. So it's not that you never progress, that everything's wiped away. There's always a progression. You're just never consciously aware of it during the lifetime. But at some point, that is kind of the goal, is to tap into those experiences, that memory of who you are and what you are, right? And how that's done, I don't know. I would like to find that out. That's part of, why I'm on this journey that I am. And so to me, I was looking at this idea that these people come back and they participate in the game. And sometimes they have to play the role of the villain, because this place runs on duality. It's about alchemy. And you can't have any significant change within the self unless you go through this alchemical process. And part of how that works is you have to have this dualistic system of opposites. You have to have good and you have to have its opposite, right? And somebody has to play the bad guy. It's part of the hero's journey. How can the hero overcome the villain if there's no villain to overcome? How can he find the secret treasure if nothing's hidden and everything is known? There's no mystery. There's no journey if there's no mystery. There's no hero if there's no mystery. And if there's no hero, there's no reason to leave. There's no reason to grow. So we need this. We need the narrative. There is a storyline that plays out here, right? And it's usually just based around energy and what that energy represents and how that manifests to us as form and material right? It's going to change over time. The game is going to change slightly. The way that you can have a storyline, right? And you can tell it an infinite number of ways with small variations, each one designed to maybe do better than the last storyline, but all staying within the overall framework of the story. That's the one story. There is only the one story. And that can take a lot of different forms. There can be stories within that story, right? Little smaller lessons broken up into different stories. But ultimately, you're always getting that one story everywhere you look. It's all there. The breadcrumbs are everywhere. They're constantly being left, no matter what age or generation we live in. I think there's always these people that return that are trying to push us further, but they can't come out and tell you what this place is because, well, that would defeat the purpose of being here and figuring it out for ourselves. I could give my son everything he ever dreamed of, and I could give it to him and have him not do anything for it. But my son's not going to appreciate those things. He's not going to treat those things with respect and reverence. But if he earns them, if he puts his own effort and mind into gaining those things, then he will cherish them. He will take care of them. He will respect them. And he will also probably have that same attitude towards other people. He will cherish and respect them as well. So there's a correlation between having to work for something. If somebody just gives you a truth, most of the time people don't even understand when you drop a truth in their lap. It goes right over their head. I know it has for me. I've missed so many things and then later thought back, wow, how profound was that? Years later. And it's still there. It's like a seed was planted, but it wasn't yet ready to sprout. It hadn't been watered yet. Somebody else had to come along and water that seed that had been planted. And then finally you get this full-blown tree. But that takes time. And so I share this comment because of the synchronicities surrounding these comments and the fact that there was the second response that I read out. I feel like it was this question that was awaiting an answer. And so this whole week and probably over the last couple of weeks, I felt like this idea has been forming in my mind, and it's really been the answer to a question that hadn't even been asked of me yet. And so following all of these synchronicities, this question just gets asked of me. And I don't know if this commenter is going to even like my answer. They may hate it. They may think it's absolute rubbish. And they may love it. And they may say, you know what? That is the answer I've been looking for. That's unlocking something for me. And it's starting to help me make sense out of all of this stuff that just doesn't make sense to me. And I hope that's the case. I do. But, you know, I understand that everybody's at a different place. And, you know, what's true for me is not going to hold true for everyone else. And so I'm looking at it like, you know, right now, from my perspective and the things that I'm learning and the information that I've learned over time and the experiences that I've had, I don't see this place as this evil, terrible, horrible, corrupted place that we have to somehow beat the bad guy and restore a paradise here on Earth. I don't think Earth was ever designed to be a paradise, unless, of course, collectively we make it that way. But we're not really living in a time where people are willing to collectively do anything except shame one another and do terrible things to one another because somebody told them to. They're not using any critical thinking. The majority of people, you know, they seem to walk around without any light in their eyes. And I'm not saying that they're not real, but what I'm saying is that I don't think we all are created equal. We both are and we are not, right? I mean, men and women are physically not the same. We know that children and adults are physically not the same. Neither are they mentally or psychologically the same. We're all born with the same possible potential. the potential for greatness, for extreme depravity, right? Anything the human mind can imagine is possible. So we're all born equal in the sense that we all have unlimited potential in what we can become. But after that, that's where the differences really begin. So I don't think that everyone at any given time is on the same frequency, is even at the same point in their journey through this game that we call life. And so I'm not saying that people are NPCs, but I can definitely see how the things that we've been living through are pushing us. They're applying pressure to us. And it's how we are responding to this pressure that's really going to affect how we come out the other side. We're all these lumps of coal when we come into this place. And if this place didn't apply heat and pressure, we'd never produce any diamonds. I personally want to be a diamond. And so I look at the pressure and the terrible things that happen in this world and the propaganda and the lies and everything else. I look at it as part of the game. Why would they hide the truth from us? Why would they lie? If you don't value truth, you'll probably just give it away to anybody and everybody. But if you truly value something, you'll keep it for a small few who have earned it, who deserve it, who spent the calories to go out and find it, to seek it out, to search the mysteries. Those are the people that are going to make it out of this place at some point. Those are the people who won't compromise, who don't want to get bogged down in all of the sideshows that go on here, the games within the game. We're trying to get through the maze to get to the center of the labyrinth. And in that journey, there's going to be challenges, because there has to be. They forge you, they make you stronger, they strip away all the bullshit and get right down to the heart of what's at your core. That compressed, clear, razor sharp diamond. Anyway, these are just my thoughts. They will very likely change and morph over time, but I just wanted to make this video because I think this is really the video that I should have been making all week long, and it took this long because everything just had to line up just right. And my thoughts even had to just happen at just the right times for everything to really just click with me and really go, okay, yeah, this is what I really need to be exploring and talking about. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's not going to be nearly as long as some of my other videos, but I would like to expand more on this, and definitely invite other people into this conversation and get other people's takes on this, and kind of go back and forth and trade different ideas and work some things out, right? Because I'm definitely open to other people's interpretations and other people's views on this kind of stuff. And I'm always willing to entertain even the most absurd things, because I think doing that is quite helpful, instead of just rejecting something outright because you think you have the correct truth and somebody else has been fooled, right? I mean, that's what keeps people in these little pockets or these little groups, and that keeps them too focused on one particular part of this game, whether it's flat earth or chemtrails. I mean, you see the people and they specialize in this stuff. Their whole entire YouTube career is tied into whatever they originally started talking about. And they just devoted so much time and energy to that particular topic that they've set themselves apart from everybody else, and they've become a specialist. They become a surgeon of sorts, right? And they focus on a very narrow specialty. And that's great. Those people can dig out some of the most amazing information and their ability to find this stuff is, it's awesome. For me personally, I don't want to get stuck in that frame of mind though, because it keeps you in place and it prevents you from moving forward. It prevents certain information from penetrating your mind for consideration. Not that it has to change your mind, but not even being willing to entertain somebody else's point of view because you feel like you have the superior view, the superior truth. It's limiting, and it's not helping you, and it's holding you back. So, just something to consider, that if you want to really move past a certain block that you're having in understanding something, start looking in places that you normally would never look. Start looking to people that you absolutely disagree with, that you think could never tell you anything that you don't already know. Those are the people I usually find the most interesting things from, are the people that I disagree with the most. And then in the end, I always end up agreeing with them more than I disagree with them. So just a little food for thought. Anyway, I'll leave you there for now, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. Take care.